Hello, I'm Nadia, dietitian and clinical hypnotherapist, and today I wanted to chat a little bit about how dietitians can support you in your endometriosis journey. But first up, let's chat about what dietitians actually do. So historically, dietitians have been thought of as a bit of like the food police. Now, of course, we all work a little bit differently, so I can't speak to anyone else, but how I describe my role to new clients when they first walk through my door is that I say that I work with lots of people with lots of challenging symptoms, lots of gut symptoms, lots of pelvic pain, lots of hormonal stuff. But I also work with a lot of people with a challenging relationship with their food and body. So I don't like to take an eat this, don't eat this approach. It's more so, how can I support you to reach your health goals or feel better whilst also having a happy relationship with food? Now, based on that, you probably guessed that the areas that I'm most passionate about working in are women's health, including endometriosis and persistent pelvic pain, but also gut health. Now, in saying that, dietitians can often support people with a broader range of conditions, and many people walking through my door don't just have one challenge or one condition, but often have overlapping things. So we can also support people with things like polycystic ovary syndrome or PCOS, fertility challenges, pregnancy, postpartum, perimenopause, menopause, chronic illness, and other chronic conditions or chronic symptoms like chronic fatigue. So that's who we support, but how do we actually do it? Now, historically, endometriosis has really been thought of and treated as very much a gynecological or reproductive condition. But what we know now is that it really impacts the whole body and many body systems. So absolutely, we look at the gynecological and reproductive system, but we also support people with their hormonal or endocrine system, their gastrointestinal system, their immune system, their nervous system, their musculoskeletal system, and of course, their psychosocial health. And so when we're supporting someone with endometriosis as dietitians, we're going to be taking that holistic view of things and looking at how can we support the person with the body system that really needs it the most. And often we'll be looking at multiple systems. Definitely there are hormonal components to endometriosis. So we're looking at how does nutrition support hormones in the body. But there's a huge immune system component, and specifically with endometriosis being a chronic inflammatory condition, we're looking at how does nutrition support anti-inflammatory processes in the body through things like anti-inflammatory diet, but also evidence-based supplements. But what's also important to note is that the immune system and the nervous system really go hand in hand. So how are we supporting a sense of safety in the body through nutrition? So we might be looking at things like blood sugar stability, or even how the patterns around how we're eating and how we feel about food, perhaps fear around food versus safety around food. And then lastly, people with endometriosis, about 85 to 90% of them experience digestive symptoms. So of course, we're looking at gut health and how we can support managing things like bloating, constipation, period poops, abdominal pain, and so on and so forth. So safe to say that nutrition plays a huge role in supporting you to manage your endometriosis. Now, the last thing I want to touch on is that when people come to a dietitian, they often expect to focus solely on food, and commonly on foods that they need to remove, or maybe even something like an elimination diet, like the low FODMAP diet, which does have some research for use in people with endometriosis. But what I want to say is that a good dietitian should be taking that holistic view of things, because after all, it seems unfair to be putting all the pressure on food and eating to solve what is a very multifactorial condition. So absolutely, we will look at food, we will look at anti-inflammatory diet, we will look at anti-inflammatory supplements, we might even zoom in on certain nutrients like magnesium, like fiber, like protein. But we're not only looking at what you're eating, we're also looking at how you're eating. So that might be the patterns of eating, the consistency, the adequacy, but also your relationship with food, how you feel about food, even things like emotional eating. On top of that, we should be looking at that holistic approach. So your stress levels, how's your sleep, how's your pelvic floor function, and of course, working alongside your other healthcare practitioners in the space to help those treatments work together hand in hand. Because ideally, when we're looking at things very holistically, we can maintain a lot of joy around food, but also give you strategies that are sustainable long term. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of overview as to how a dietitian can support you in your endometriosis journey. And please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions.